Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. How is zakat calculated? The first time a person attains the nisab amount in his life will be the date he will utilize to calculate his zakat every year. Exactly 1 year later, he will see whether he possesses the nisab amount or not. If he does, then he will have to now pay zakat on all zakatable goods, even if he has them in his possession for less than a year. For example, Zayd received 10,000 rands on the 5th of Rajab. The nisab is 4,000 rand. 1 year later, on the 4th of Rajab, he will count his assets. If he has more than 4,000, he will now have to calculate his zakat and pay on all zakatable assets, even if he received extra money a few days before. See, Ismail? Even if he received the money a few days before. Right? If on this date one has less than the nisab, then no zakat will be fard on him. If one has forgotten the date, then he should try to remember the date. So if a person forgot which was the first time that he got his nisab and which now became his zakat date, he should exercise his mind and try to remember the date. Whatever date the mind is convinced with should be selected. So when you're not sure, then you can take like a plus minus date that my heart says that this is the date plus minus, and you can use that date. If no date comes to mind, because many people never record any date, so if no date comes to mind, one should nominate any date of the lunar calendar. So now it will be better that a person, he selects a date in Ramadan, because the reward of discharging zakat in Ramadan is multiplied 70 times. So rather select a date in Ramadan. However, a person should, as a precaution, give a bit extra money for any shortfall that may have occurred. That in the past, now because you change your date, you're not giving accurately on your zakat date. So just give a little extra. So if there was any shortfall, inshallah, that will be covered. If during the year, the wealth of a person decreased below the nisab amount, so he became, say if the nisab was 4,000, he came to 2,000 or whatever, this will not affect the zakat. If one had possessed nisab on a certain day of the lunar calendar, and exactly a year later he has the nisab, then zakat will be compulsory on him. So we look only at the date, that 1 year later, if it's the 1st of Rajab, 1 year later, 1st of Rajab, now how much has he got? If he got nisab, now you pay zakat. Irrespective of what happened during the year, the only time the date is going to change if he goes into minus, he goes into a debt, he loses everything and he becomes minus, then when he gets the nisab again for the first time, then he has to record that and try and maintain it for one complete year. If a person spends all his wealth, or it is stolen, whereby his zakatable assets are cash and nil, he will be absolved of his responsibility of paying zakat. So let's say, for example, a person had to pay zakat, he had 100,000 rand, and he had to pay zakat 2.5% of that. So he said, okay, I'll pay the zakat next week. And Allah forbid, Allah save us, the entire 100,000 got stolen. So what about the zakat? It was already due now, but he said, I'll pay it next week. It will fall away now, because all the money was stolen, so it's going to fall away. He will start calculating his zakat again when he attains the nisab amount. See, now he went to zero. So now when he gets the nisab again, he will record that date, maintain the nisab for a year, and that will become his new zakat date. His date of zakat will now change. A husband will not be regarded as the owner of nisab because of his wife owning jewelry or cash equivalent to the nisab. So let's say, for example, a husband is a poor man. He doesn't have anything, but the wife got jewelry. So now, are we going to look at the wife's jewelry and determine whether he is zakatable or not? No, we won't do that. We look at him in his personal capacity. Is he liable or eligible to take zakat or not? If he is eligible to receive zakat, no problem. We can assist that person. But many people, they take advantage of the situation. So what they do is, they pass, because they want to receive zakat, they pass everything over to the wife. The money that they have, they give it to the wife. Whatever they have, they put it on, give it over to the wife. They say, no, she owns everything. The whole house is hers. All the furniture is hers. That's not right. That is deceiving. So you look at your own financial situation. If you're eligible, you're genuine, no problem, we can assist the person. Some people, many a time, now in Ramadan also I had calls where people are saying that this person says that they're eligible for zakat, but they drive an X5. Now, the house, they got best of furniture, everything of the best in the house. They buy the best, the most expensive, but they think they're eligible for zakat. On the other side, there's people that don't have food. They don't have food on their table. These people are living it up because of their lavish lifestyle. They now in debt, because of which they say now we're eligible for zakat. Whereas other people are in debt because they don't even have food, they don't have clothing. So these type of people, normally I tell people, go give there, where people don't have food on their table. Those are the people, when they will eat that food, that dua will come out for you. These people are living it up, don't worry about them. Tell them, sell that X5, you can drive a car that's 50,000 also. You will reach your destination. But those people that don't have food, when that dua will come out, Allah Ta'ala will fulfill our needs. Zakat will be faraz upon her only. In this instance where the wife, she's got nisab, she has to pay zakat. But the husband, he doesn't have a job, he doesn't have money, he is eligible to take zakat. However, if the husband voluntarily discharges the zakat on behalf of the wife with her permission, then her zakat will be discharged. For example, now, where the wife got jewelry, where she's going to get money all the time to pay the zakat on the jewelry if she doesn't have the funds. But she's got jewelry which she's wearing. So the husband, he can discharge her zakat every year for her. All he needs to do is take her permission that I will be discharging for you, and it will be discharged. Similarly, sadaqatul fitr, we need to take their permission. If we do it without their permission, zakat won't be discharged. Similarly, two partners in a business, both of them are doing business. So we say, the business pays zakat. Business can't pay zakat. Each one is responsible for his own zakat, and each one has his own set zakat date. He has to calculate his zakat on his respective date. So if one partner wants to pay for the other partner, he can't just pay the money from the business and then tell him later, hey, I paid your zakat. No, if the poor man already used the money, zakat is not discharged. So you need the permission of your partner. Even now, there's a masla that Mufti Saheb has written in the kitab. He says, like, say for example, if one person, he loans money to another person. So he loaned him, maybe sometimes they loan big money also. Sometimes it's 500,000, sometimes R1,000,000. Big business people, they talk big money. So one person, he loaned another person. Let's say he loaned him R1,000,000. So now that person is deriving benefit from the money because he is now utilizing it in his business or whatever it might be. But the person that gave the money, that loaned the money, he has to still pay the zakat. So can that person now, who's utilizing the money and profiting from the money, can he say that, okay, I'll pay the zakat on your behalf? He can. He can tell the person who loaned him the money, look, I will pay the zakat every year on your behalf because I'm benefiting from the money. But he needs to take the permission of the owner of the money, and if he discharges it, the zakat will be discharged. A person hasn't discharged zakat for the previous years in spite of owning nisab. He had the nisab, he's supposed to be paying zakat, he didn't pay. He realizes his error and now intends to discharge zakat for the previous years. But he is not aware of his finances. Such a person should estimate his zakat for the previous years and discharge it accordingly. So a person, for example, 10 years, 20 years of his life, he never paid zakat, but he was supposed to pay. And now Allah Ta'ala gave him the tawfiq, he realized. So now he has to pay for 20 years, but he doesn't have a record of what was his financial situation for all these years, how much money he had, how much zakatable assets he had. So for this person, he has to just estimate. He has to estimate, and when his heart is at ease, that the amount that I have estimated is a fair amount, and then he discharges zakat on that, inshallah his zakat will be discharged. When we're doing the zakat program, once in the Khanka in Azabal in Ramadan also, then one elderly person, he was from South Africa, but he lived a major portion of his life in Kenya. And mashallah, Allah Ta'ala blessed him. He had a lot of wealth as well, a lot of properties in Kenya. And when he came and he listened to the program, then he told me, I want to come after Ramadan and I want to have a meeting with you. So I said, no problem, you can come after Ramadan. So he phoned me and he came after Ramadan. Then he told me, look, let me tell you, I never paid zakat all these years. I have a lot of wealth and I've never been paid zakat for whatever is the reason. So I said, okay. Then he told me that what I want to do is I got a house in Kenya. I'm prepared to give the whole house to the madrasa. They can take the entire house as zakat from me. So then took him to the principal and we arranged. The principal said, okay, we'll sort it out, sort certain things out, and then we'll sort the house and we'll take the house in lieu of your zakat. But the first thing, the Saheb told him, he said, see, make shukr to Allah Ta'ala. Make shukr that Allah Ta'ala brought you here. Allah gave you the realization that you have to pay your zakat. And you have taken the step, because to take out an entire property worth maybe 2-3 million, whatever it might be, take that property and to give it in zakat is not easy for a person, especially for a person who hasn't been giving for so many years. For him to open his heart now and to give that in zakat, it's a big move. So Allah gave you the tawfiq. Make a lot of shukr to Allah wa ta'ala. One should ensure that he does not underestimate it. In the case of gold, one should inquire the gold rate for the previous years and discharge the zakat accordingly. So let's say, for example, a lady, she had jewelry, but the jewelry that she owned, she never paid the zakat for the last 10 years maybe. So now it's very easy. If you go onto the internet, you get a gold chart. The gold chart goes back like 30 years, up to 30, 40 years, I think it goes. So on that gold chart, that is just to show us, the intention of putting that gold chart up is to tell people to invest in gold, because the price of gold has been escalating over the years. But to us, it's to our benefit. So all the person needs to do now, go back to that gold chart and just see, like for the last 10 years, maybe 2010, what was the rate? And according to that, you take your weight of jewelry and you multiply it by the gold rate. 2011, it must have gone up. 2012, it could have come down again. And according to that, a person will calculate his zakat. Intention of zakat. It is compulsory to form an intention for the fulfillment of zakat. If no intention is made, zakat will not be valid. Somebody was begging, Muslim person, poor person, and he knows this person doesn't have nisab, so he took out 500 rand from his pocket and he just gave it to him. Now when he went home, he said, you know what, I have to pay zakat. I have to pay zakat, so that will be zakat. If the poor person, he still has the money, he hasn't used the 500 rand, that will still be considered as zakat. If you made the niyat and he hasn't yet used the money, he uses the 500 after your niyat, then it will be considered as zakat. But if he used the 500 rand, he went immediately and he bought groceries, and you made niyat one day later, finish. That money becomes nafil sadaqah. You have to give another 500 rand now for your zakat. So if no niyat is made, no intention is made, zakat will not be valid. However, it is not necessary to inform the recipient of zakat that he has been given zakat. Many people, they don't like it, even up to now. There was one person that was an Azad, elderly person, and whoever went to him, he wasn't working, he was going through some difficult times, and many people told him, we'll give you zakat. He refused. He said, my parents told me, don't ever take zakat money. Don't ever take this money. So after sitting with him and talking to him, I told him, listen, what Allah Ta'ala made halal for you, how can you reject it? And people want to give it, so you accept it. So he said, okay, if you give it to me, I'll take it, but you mustn't tell me it's zakat. So I said, no problem, that we'll sort out. But you just tell me what your finances are you eligible for zakat? He says, I'm eligible to receive zakat. I need money to put bread and butter on my table. So I said, okay. So we arranged it, we sorted it out. But many people, they don't like it. So you don't have to tell them this is zakat. Say, there's a hadiyah for you. And after a few years also, again one day, when we were giving him, then he asked me a question again. He says, what are you giving me? Are you giving me sadaqah? Are you giving me zakat? I said, no, this is hadiyah for you. He said, oh, okay, alhamdulillah. Then he embraced me. So see, they feel happy. When you tell them that it is hadiyah, they feel happy. So no problem. Your niyat in your heart is what counts by Allah Ta'ala. Your niyat is zakat, it will be zakat. But for the person, you just tell him that it is hadiyah for him. If one intends discharging zakat, but hands it over to the recipient by referring to it as a gift, as a hadiyah, then too the zakat will be discharged. If a person had put aside an amount for zakat with the intention of giving it to the needy, but forgets to make the intention when giving the zakat will still be valid. Why? When you put it aside, what was your niyat for putting it aside? Your niyat at that time was, this is zakat money that I will give to the needy. But at the time of giving the poor man, you forgot. Your niyat was already made before that. So that niyat that was made previously, that niyat is still valid. So therefore, even if you didn't make the niyat now when you gave it to the poor man, your zakat is discharged. One last masla will do. If a person discharges zakat on behalf of another without his permission, then zakat will not be discharged. We did this now in detail. that husband and wife or business partners, zakat won't be discharged. If the person on behalf of whom it was discharged gives permission at a later stage, then too zakat will not be discharged if the poor person has spent the money. See, the money is spent, finished. Now you're making a niyat later on, after the money is spent. Now it doesn't hold any weight. If he has not spent the money, one may make intention of zakat and zakat will be discharged. One cannot claim the money back from the poor to whom it was given. You gave him the money, you didn't make the niyat, that is your fault now. So the poor person, you can't tell him that you must return the money to me. What is gone already.
You said that one you mentioned where if you loan the money and the person pays zakat on your behalf, does it take the zakat off the loan money, or you still got to pay you back the full amount?
The full amount.
Full amount.
Full amount. He's paying on your behalf, meaning because he's benefiting from your money. He says, I'll take care of the zakat aspect of it.
And
so
if he can't pay zakat, say I lent you money now and my financial situation is I can't pay zakat on that money I loaned you.
So the responsibility still remains on you. It still remains. So when you have the money, then you'll have to pay. Or in other words, because I'm holding your money, you mean? Or then you'll have to ask me to return the money back to you. See, a person, even though in a loan, you tell a person, for example, I'm giving you the money for 1 year. You got a right in terms of Sharia, although you should try to honor that agreement. But if at any stage the person that loaned the money, he requires his money, he got a right of asking for his money before the time also.
I think I've got one question on the same line. Let's say you give the example of 1 million land, and then the person that you borrowed loan to, they paid the zakat.
Without your permission.
No, with your permission.
Right.
So now say they paid for whatever, 2 years, so they would have paid 50,000 land.
Gee.
So now the 50,000 is subtracted from the 1 million land.
No. That's
I'm saying when they're repaying now, they're paying back.
No. He is paying voluntarily from his side.
Okay. So he must still pay you back 1 million.
1 million rand.
So you don't minus 1 million minus 50,000.
No. There's two angles to the masla then. Right? I understand where you're coming from. Your masla, you are saying that the person, if the money is mine, for example, and I give you that 1 million rand to use.
Right.
So now the time of zakat came. So I tell you, Ismail, I'm making you my wakil. From my money, you pay 25,000 and out in zakat.
Right.
That is called wakalat. That is you acting on my instruction. So it is as though I am discharging the money, but you just doing the job for me, like giving it to an institute.
Right.
So in that case, you will subtract the money.
Okay.
Right? And the second is where I've loaned you the money. So you say, okay, you don't have the money, you're not benefiting from the money. I am benefiting from the money. So whatever zakat is due on the money, can I pay it for you voluntarily? So you pay the 25,000, and when you return the full loan to me. Right? It's clear.
Deposits, like deposit you get at your when you're renting a house, you pay a deposit. Now you're going to pay all that too.
Very, very good, very important question this is. When we pay, a person, for example, is a tenant, and he pays a deposit to the landlord. So that money that is given to the landlord is amanat. The landlord, he can't use that money. Either it lies in his bank account and it has to remain there. For example, if you gave 10,000, so the 10,000 has to at any time, it has to remain in his bank account because that money belongs to somebody else, right? So he cannot utilize it. Or if you gave him cash, that cash has to be put in an envelope, that particular cash, and that has to then be sealed, and you need to put it away until that person vacates your premises. Right? Now, the zakat on that, the tenant, it is his money. So he has to pay zakat every year on that money. So whenever he's calculating his zakat, he has to bring that deposit into his zakat calculation. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The last masla we did is that when a person is making salam, then a person should make niyat of the musallis, of the imam, of the malaika, depending on which side a person is. लेकिन इसमें जो फराइज है, इनमें से अगर एक बात छूट जावे तो नमाज नहीं होती. That if those things that are faraz in namaz, if a single fard has to be omitted, the namaz of a person doesn't take place. चाहे qasdan chora ho ya bhule se, dono ka ek hukam hai. Whether you left out the faraz intentionally or the faraz was left out in error, the ruling is one. और बास चीज़ें वाजिब है, and some things are वाजिब in namaz, कि उसमें से अगर कोई चीज़ कस्दन छोड़ दे तो नमाज निकम्मी और ख़राब हो जाती है. If a person has to leave a wajib of salah intentionally, then the namaz of a person is spoiled, it becomes incomplete. Intentionally a person left out the wajib, his namaz becomes incomplete, it is spoiled. और फिर से नमाज पढ़नी पड़ती है, then a person has to repeat that namaz again, which we refer to as wajibul i'ada. It becomes wajib for a person now to repeat that namaz all over again. अगर कोई फिर से न पढ़े तो खैर, तब भी फर्ज सर से उतर जाता है. If a person didn't repeat the namaz, although it was wajib on him to repeat the namaz, but he didn't repeat the namaz in the time, so he has been absolved of his responsibility. The namaz will be discharged. लेकिन बहुत गुनाह होता है. But now you sinful because you intentionally left out a wajib of namaz. और अगर भूले से छूट जावे तो सज्जे सहू कर लेने से नमाज हो जाएगी. And if a person misses it out in error, you missed out a wajib in error, you forgot, then by making sajda sahu, that salah will become completed, it will be perfected in the end. बास चीज़ें सुन्नत है और बास चीज़ें मुस्तहब है. Some things are sunnat in namaz and some things are mustahab in namaz. And we mentioned from the other kitab that we should learn all these things, what are the sunan, what are the mustahabbat, etc. Namaz में 6 चीज़ें फर्ज है. Now this is it. This is what we should pay attention, because he's telling us now what is farz in namaz. And Hazrat Shah Ahmad Shaheed here is saying that if you pay attention to what is farz, what is wajib, what is sunnat, what is mustahab, your namaz will be considered as a salah of concentration. So he says there are 6 things that are farz in namaz. Number 8, niyat bante waqt Allahu Akbar kehna. When making niyat to say Allahu Akbar, to lift up the hand and tying the hand, that is sunnah. But to say Allahu Akbar, that is farz. So if a person just said Allahu Akbar and he just tied his hand like this, so he has done something that is khilaf sunnah, but he has started his namaz. His namaz is in order, because what was fard in namaz, he has already done that. Right? So to say Allahu Akbar. Number 2, khara hona, for a person to stand in namaz, qiyam. That is why if a person is sitting on the chair and is reading namaz and he doesn't have a valid excuse, his namaz is not taking place. His namaz is invalid. That's why as far as possible, if a person can stand, he should stand and read his namaz. Number 3, Quran में से कोई सूरत या आयत पढ़ना, to recite any surat or any ayat of the Quran Sharif. That is a farz of namaz, to recite any surah or any ayat of the Quran Sharif. Number 4, ruku karna or dono sajda karna, to make the ruku, that is farz, and both the sajda are farz. Here some people they err here. Some say that the first sajda is farz and the second sajda is wajib. So it's not like that. Both are farz. Now in terms of farz and wajib, just understand this much. I won't go into the detail, but understand this much. In terms of the law, there's a technical difference here. In terms of the law, the farz is of a higher level and wajib is slightly of a lower level. That is why, because of the technical difference, we got the term farz and we got the term wajib. But in terms of action, whether you need to do it or not do it, both are on an equal level. Exactly as you have to do a farz, you have to do a wajib. That is why the witr salah, it is a wajib. It is a wajib according to Imam Hanifa rahmatullahi. Obviously his students hold a different view, but the fatwa is on the view of Imam Saheb rahmatullahi. Imam Saheb says wajib. So because his view is taken that it is wajib, if a person missed out the witr, you have to make qaza of the witr. See, and if you missed out a farz namaz, you have to make qaza. So in terms of action, amal, both of it on an equal pedestal. But in terms of the ranking, which is of a higher level, farz of a higher level and wajib is slightly lower than that. Right? रुकू करना और दोनों सजदा करना. और नमाज के आखिर में जितने देर अत्तहियात पढ़ने में लगती है उतनी देर बैठना. And at the end of salah, how long it takes a person to read at-tahiyat, then to sit for that duration is farz. To sit for that duration, for the duration of at-tahiyat, that is in the last sitting posture. If you're reading a 2 rakat namaz, on the second rakat, that's your last posture. If you're reading 4 rakats, on the 4th rakat. Inshallah, we'll stop it there and go to the next. Allah Ta'ala give us tawfiq of making amal, inshallah.
noticed somewhere we did like one brother in Pirati at my Tarawih, he put a chair and he stands, and then when the Tarawih is going on, he gets tired, elderly brother, and then he sits. And then when we go down for ruku, then he wakes up, then he goes into ruku.
Yeah, you see, we don't normally encourage people to read the Tarawih Salah sitting. But the Tarawih Salah, you can sit and read. Because Tarawih is also categorized as a Nafil Salah. But it is an emphasized Sunnat. That's why it's a Sunnat Mu'akkada. It's an emphasized Sunnat. So any Nafil Namaz, a person, he has the choice of either sitting or standing. But without a valid reason, a person shouldn't sit. If you tell the people that you can sit, I think 3/4 of the masjid will be sitting and reading Tarawih Namaz.
But he like doing
Combination.
He goes into sajda, going to ruku, but only during the
Is he able to make ruku and sajda?
the long kirat, and he sits.
Yeah, then he rather sit on the floor. He mustn't sit on the chair. He should sit on the floor. If a person is unable to stand, then he must sit on the floor and he must read his namaz. And if he can't sit on the floor, then as a last resort, then he must go to the chair. He doesn't just fall away where, for example, a person he can sit, and now from standing you go to the chair immediately. It doesn't go, the masla is not that it's permissible to go to the chair. You'll have to go to the second stage. When the second stage is not possible, then you go to the third stage. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Finally, it concludes. This is the last page of this first chapter that we done. We only managed to get this, to do this much. Inshallah, if Allah gives us life, Allah gives us tawfiq next year and we are, then we try and continue. He summarizes and he said, Namaz ka kamal inhi umur ki kama haqqu adayigi hai. That the perfection of namaz is in these matters, to fulfill them as we're supposed to fulfill them. This is the four things, the fulfilling the faraiz, wajibat, sunan and mustahabbat. Ke yahi namaz hai, this is namaz. जो लोग इसके अलावा किसी और चीज़ महवियत वगैरह से नमाज का कमाल चाहता है, वो कमाल नमाज को गैर नमाज से तलाश करते हैं. But he said those people that are looking for perfection of namaz in anything else, that is like just being totally absorbed. They're not worried about the sunnats, the wajibat, the faraz, all that they're not worried about. But just that I must be totally absorbed in my namaz, nothing else. So he said they looking for the perfection in namaz in what is not namaz. Because the actual perfection of namaz lies in ensuring that the faraiz, wajibat, sunan and mustahabbat are fulfilled correctly. That is what we should pay our attention towards. Magar in mazkura umur ka dil ki tawajjuh aur khiyal ke saath ada ho jana, ghafil qalb ke saath aur qalbi khushu ke baghair mumkin nahi. But he said these things, fulfilling the faraiz, the wajibat, the sunan and the mustahabbat, he said this is only possible for a person to discharge when the heart of a person has khushu in it. And if the heart is ghafil, the heart is negligent, the heart is unaware, and there's no khushu, there's no concentration with Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, then a person won't be able to fulfill the faraiz, wajibat, sunan and mustahabbat, because your mind is somewhere else. So now you're not going to be paying attention. This is a faraiz of namaz I have to fulfill, this is a wajib, this is a sunan, this is the mustahabbat, because your mind is somewhere else. But when your mind is in salah, when your heart is connected in salah, now you'll be conscious all the time. Now is the time of qiraat, now is the time of ruku, now is the time of sajda. And every posture, at least once, the minimum is at least once, he must remember Allah Ta'ala. और qalbi khushu, qalb ke zikr se mutaassir हुए बगैर मुमकिन नहीं. And the connection of the heart with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, this is not possible without the heart being affected with dhikrullah. Only when dhikr comes into the heart, and the heart now melts, the heart softens, then that connection with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala will come. Jaisa ke piche bhi bayan kiya gaya, which we have already explained before, that first you'll have to do your course of zikr for 40 days, and then only once the heart has been cleansed, the heart has been purified, you will be able to get your concentration in salah. कि इस तरह नमाज पढ़ने में पूरी कामयाबी उन्हीं को हासिल हो सकती है. Only that person can attain complete perfection, complete success in his namaz, जिसके दिल को जिक्र शुगल से कुछ निस्बत याददाश्त हासिल हो चुकी. That person that did zikr, he did some spiritual exercises, and he had attained some level of concentration in salah, that person will be successful in performing a proper salah. इनको तो नमाज की तकमील के लिए इन उमूर की अदायगी थोड़ी सी कोशिश से हासिल हो सकती है. Person that cleansed the heart, he made the zikr already of Allah Ta'ala, heart has already been affected. That person, in a short span of time, he just has to make little effort, and all this, the faraiz, wajibat, sunan, mustahabbat, he will be able to fulfill it in a proper way, in a very short span of time, with a very little effort, because the heart has been sorted out. और इसके गैर को, जिसके दिल में जिक्र और खुशू नहीं है, इनके लिए नमाज की अदायगी दुश्वार है. And as for that person that didn't make zikr, and that person that hasn't developed that concentration, that connection with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, for that person to even perform his namaz, to be punctual with namaz, even that will become difficult for a person. जैसे कि कुरान पाक में है, as it is mentioned in the Quran Sharif, कि नमाज खाशिईन के अलावा दूसरे पर दुश्वार होते हैं. وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ. That namaz is difficult. It is difficult, except for those people that have khushu, concentration in the heart, that have humbled themselves. And where would this concentration, where would this humbleness come from? This is the effect of zikrullah. After a period, as I mentioned, this won't happen immediately. Like that tap, when it is dripping, one drop at a time. After 1-2 years, now you'll find a hole on the ground. That concrete now has cracked because of that one drop every day. Then you'll find that hole. So when the zikr, you making zikr every day with punctuality. After 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, now see what an effect the zikr has already had on a person. Or another example of understanding this, for example, you got a brother, and the brother is living in the UK, and he's got a small son. When he left South Africa, his son was 3 years old. Small, you know him when he was small. You didn't meet your brother for 5 years. After 5 years, you met your brother. His whole family came down. Now when you look at that small son, 8 years old, you say, oh, what happened? So big you gone. And you were so small when you left over here. So now you're seeing a big difference. So exactly the same with the zikr of Allah Ta'ala, it is having all the time. Although you don't see the effect, but the effect is there. It is taking effect all the time. You just continue and leave the rest to Allah Ta'ala. When the heart will be corrected, and you have to look back, oh, where was I in life? And where has Allah Ta'ala brought me today? I make so much of shukr to Allah Ta'ala. But you need to be constant at it. दूसरी बात ये भी हकीकत है. The second thing is, this is a reality, कि ज़ाहिर का असर बातिन पर और बातिन का असर ज़ाहिर पर होता है. That the outside of a person has an effect on the inside of a person, and the inside of a person will have an effect on the outside of a person. Take a little child and put the police suit on the child. Make him wear a police outfit. See, now he'll act like a police. If you may put that Spider-Man, this is all haram, that I'm just taking an example. You put the Spider-Man on him. See, now he's going to start climbing the walls. See the outside, already what an effect it has on the inside of a person. And when the inside of a person is corrected, then automatically his outside, he's going to be a different person altogether. Once the heart has been cleansed, a person that nobody wanted to be near him, but he cleansed the heart, his akhlaq came right, his character came right. Now all his friends also want to be near him. His family wants to be near him. Everybody wants. He's a different person altogether. So the outside has an effect on the inside, and the inside has an effect on the outside. अगर कल्बी खुशू और जिक्र वाला थोड़ी तवज्जो से ज़ाहिरी मुस्तहब्बात को अदा करे. If a person that has the qalbi khushu, the khushu of the heart, and a person that makes zikr, थोड़ी तवज्जो से ज़ाहिरी मुस्तहब्बात को अदा करे, if he has to only fulfill the mustahabbat of namaz, which is the outside mustahabbat of namaz, those acts of namaz which are mustahab, but they are external, not talking about the internal, the outside, the external mustahabbat acts of namaz, तो इसका असर बातिन के खुशू को भी बढ़ा देगा. Then the effect of this is, it will increase the internal concentration of a person. I'll explain it again. Those things that are mustahab in namaz, but they are external things. You pay attention to those external mustahab acts of namaz, and this will increase your internal concentration and connection with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And he'll give an example now. मिसाल के तौर पर बवक्त क़ियाम सजदा की जगह पर नजर रखना. Okay. At the time when a person is standing, so at the time of standing in the qiyam posture, your gaze should be at the place of sajda. Right? This is a mustahab, an external mustahab, that you're supposed to keep your gaze at the place of sajda. When a person goes into ruku, then your gaze should be on your feet. You should look at your feet when you're in ruku. When a person, he goes into sajda, then his gaze should be on the tip of his nose. Nobody can see their nose. We can't even see further than our nose. Only the tip of our nose we can see. So your gaze will be on the tip of your nose. When a person will be in the sitting posture, then your gaze should be kept on your lap. Although at every stage the head should be straight. The head must be straight, but the gaze must be on your lap. And when a person, he makes salam, then your gaze should be on the shoulders. And all the niyats be done of the malaika, etc. The gaze should be on the shoulders. So in qiyam, it should be at the place of sajda. When we go into ruku, on our feet. When we in sajda, keep it on the nose. In the qada posture, on our laps. And when making salam, then on the shoulders. Now this is the mustahabbat of namaz. But this will help a person now to gain concentration in his salah. This will help now to gain concentration in our salah, because our gaze is focused only in a particular area. Now the person that moves his gaze around, his namaz won't become invalid. His namaz is still valid if he has to move his gaze around. Whilst namaz, for example, he just looked up or he looked at the time, his namaz will still be valid. But the concentration of salah he won't get, because his gaze wasn't in the correct place. One occasion there was a nikah in Azarfal. So this was many years ago. Maulana Saheb, he gave a bayan. So he just spoke about the basic, about nikah, like what we discuss normally about fulfilling the rights of the wife and the husband and whatever else. So he mentioned this. Then he mentioned this point. That if a person, he focuses in the correct place in salah, he keeps his gaze in the correct place, out of namaz, Allah will give him the tawfiq to protect his gaze when he's on the road. So namaz has a contact. There's a link between namaz and our life outside the masjid. That's why we're focusing so much on namaz here. If this has to come right, everything else will come right in our life. So the one person, he went away from there. He heard the bayan. Whoever was there, they left. So one person from there, he was very active, mashallah, in Jamaat, a pious person, good person. So after 2 months, he phoned one of the meets up. And he told him, see, I had a problem. I couldn't control my gazes. I had a serious problem, and many people, they complain of it, that we have a problem. This is one of the solutions. So he said, I had a problem. I couldn't control my gaze. So I made nikah for the second time also. He said, even after the second nikah, I wasn't able to control my gazes. But he was sincere. He was a genuine man, pious person. So he said, when I heard this in the bayan, I started making amal on this. He said, it's 2 months. And in 2 months, the effect is Allah Ta'ala gave me complete control of my gaze. I'm able to control my gaze. So see, when the mustahab, which is a mustahab only, but when the mustahab is done correctly, this will have an effect on the concentration of the salah of a person. So that's what he says here. Ke ruku ke waqt qadamon par, when you in ruku, keep your gaze on your feet. Or sajde ke waqt naak ki nok par nazar jamaye rakne ko amal mein laayega. And when a person is in sajda, then keep it on the tip of the nose. तो नजर के इंतिशार से महफूज हो जाएगा. If a person does this, his gaze won't be all over the shore. When he is in namaz, his gaze will be protected. और नमाज हुजूर कल्ब के साथ मुयस्सर हो जाएगी. If you just protect your gaze, you will be able to perform your salah. It will become easy to perform your salah with concentration. There will be concentration in salah just by protecting the gaze. जब ये इतना बड़ा फायदा मुस्तहब्बात की अदायगी में है, he says so much of benefit in making amal on a mustahab. If a person leaves a mustahab, there's no guna in it. If he does it, he gets sawab. So he's saying that when there's so much of benefit on making amal on a mustahab act, तो सुनन व वाजिबात व फराइज को ध्यान से अदा करने की अहमियत जाहिर है. Then the acting on the sunnats, the wajibat and the faraiz with concentration, he says that the importance of this is clear as daylight. It is absolutely clear that if you're going to act on the sunnats, the faraz and the wajibat, how much more benefit aren't you going to get in that namaz? That namaz will become a salah of concentration. चुनाचे इनमें कोताही करने से नमाज का कमाल तो क्या कभी नमाज बिल्कुल ही अदा नहीं होती. And he says that if there is deficiency in this, leave perfection. We talking of perfection of namaz. You are negligent in these matters. Sometimes the namaz of a person doesn't take place. और कभी नाकिस रह जाती है. Sometimes the namaz of a person is deficient. It is not complete. और सलात मुनाफिक कहलाती है. And this is known and it's called the salah of a munafiq. When a person is deficient in these matters. जिसके मुताल्लिक वईद आई है. And for such a namaz that a person performs, where he's not worried about the faraiz, wajibat, sunnah, he just comes, he reads namaz and he's gone. Doesn't pay attention, no concentration. He says there's warnings that have come. You came to make ibadat, but you're returning with warnings. कि वो गफलत वाली नमाज नमाजी के लिए बदुआ करती है. that namaz of negligence. You came to fulfill Allah's command, but you leaving here with the namaz making badua for you. और पुराने कपड़े की तरह लिपट कर मुंह पर मारी जाती है. And like old clothing, it is like old tattered clothing is taken and it is thrown, it is flung at the face of the person. And that namaz also says, Dayyak Allah, may Allah destroy you, and you destroyed me. This is how you came and performed salah. So that Allah Ta'ala save us from that type of a namaz. और अगर कोई फराइज सुनन वाजिबात की तो परवाह न करे और अल्लाह ताला के हुजूर ही में मुस्तगरक रहे, and on the other side a person doesn't fulfill the faraiz, the wajibat, the mustahabbat, but he's totally absorbed in his namaz. He is totally, from the beginning to the end, he's absorbed in namaz. He got concentration on Allah Ta'ala, but what is faraz he doesn't know, he doesn't fulfill that. Wajib he hasn't fulfilled, sunnat he hasn't fulfilled. He is worried about that's only in that concentration with Allah Ta'ala. चाहे इस दौरान कोई वसवसा भी ना आए. At that time, you're so absorbed in your namaz that even one whisper of shaitan doesn't affect you. You are so engrossed in your namaz. तो वो नमाज के हुक्म को पूरा करने वाला नहीं कहलाएगा. That person won't be known as one that has fulfilled the command of namaz. He is performing a namaz so much of absorption, but we'll say you haven't performed the namaz. Why? Because you left out the faraiz, you left out the wajibat, you left out the sunnah. All that has been left out. So your namaz is not a proper namaz. बल्कि शायद ऐसे नमाज पढ़ने वाला ज़्यादा गुनहगार हो. But in fact, this type of a namazi that is reading namaz like this is totally absorbed, no thoughts coming also of anything of dunya, but he left out faraiz, wajibat, sunan. He'll be a sinner. He'll be in guna. So the most important is learn these faraiz, wajibat, sunan, mustahabbat. Just concentrate on this in namaz and our salah will come right. के याददाश्त और हुजूरी के बावजूद नाफरमानी कर रहा है, that in spite of his concentration this person is breaking the command of Allah Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala, whatever we learn up to this point, Allah Ta'ala give us the tawfiq of making amal on it. Allah Ta'ala accept it from us inshallah, and we should try and improve our namaz wherever we can inshallah. This is a lifelong effort. Nobody can ever say that my namaz has become 100% perfect. Till the time of death, we keep trying and trying. We ask Allah Ta'ala for forgiveness. Allah, we haven't performed a perfect namaz. We don't know how to perform. Through your kindness, you accept from us. Our roza the same, our i'tikaf the same, all our ibadah, tilawat of Quran Sharif same. As long as we remain like this, a person is successful. The day pride comes in, we say, oh, now I'm reading a perfect namaz, finished. That's the day a person is gone. Allah Ta'ala give us all tawfiq inshallah. Subhanallah.